So we are going to get started. Good afternoon and welcome to the Ann Arbor DDA October 2020 board meeting. My name is Jessica Leetong and I am this year's board chair. Given that this is a virtual meeting, I'm going to go over details for today's meeting. DDA board members will participate via video and audio. Staff members and other attendees will participate by audio only. Other participants may include Susan Paulet, DDA Executive Director, Sarah McCallum, DDA Accounting Director and Deputy Director, Maura Thompson, DDA Communications Manager, Jada Hallbrock, DDA Parking Services Manager, Kelly Graves, DDA Management Assistant, Liz Rolla, Civil Engineer with the DDA, and Mike McInnes, General Manager of the Republic Parking System. Thank you to members of the public who are joining us today. Your microphone will be muted during the meeting. There are four 4-minute speaking slots at the beginning of the meeting for public comment, and time has also been set aside at the end of the meeting for public comment. The chat function is enabled for use by DDA board members during the meeting to indicate you wish to speak. Thank you in advance to Kelly for helping me keep track of this. Because this is a virtual meeting, I'm asking for every person to please identify yourself before speaking. This really helps folks who are following along via audio only keep up with the conversation. When not speaking, please mute your microphone. When it appears there is no disagreement, resolutions may be approved by voice consensus. If it appears there's board member disagreement, a roll call vote will be taken. Susan, if you'll please kick us off with a roll call of the DDA board.
Happy to do it. Micah Bartone.
Present.
Tom Crawford.
Here.
Alexandra Deek.
Here.
Bob Gunzel.
Here.
Jihei Kim.
Here.
Tyler Kinley.
Here.
Marie Clough.
Here.
Jessica Leetong.
Here.
Molly McFarland.
Here.
Darren McKinnon.
Present.
Rishi Narayan.
Here.
Phil Weiss.
I'm here via phone.
We have a quorum.
Great, thanks, Susan. So can I have a motion and a second to approve the board meeting agenda?
This is Tom. I'll move.
Maria will second.
Thank you. Any discussion of the agenda? Any changes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Okay, the agenda for today's meeting is approved. As of a few minutes ago, we didn't have anyone sign up ahead of time to speak. Kelly, have we had anyone sign up since, or are there members of the public who wish to speak to the DDA at this time?
No one has signed up that I've seen.
I would like to speak if I may have 4 minutes.
So members of the public have 3 minutes, and we ask it that you say your first and last name, please.
Bonnie Pierce.
Great. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I am here to introduce myself. As I said, my name is Bonnie Pierce. I am a member of the initiating committee for the Ann Arbor Community Commons. And I am here to participate and listen into the DDA meeting, as I am hoping to form a bridge so that we can work together on some of the interests of the Commons. The Commons would like to help and assist in some items that would be a benefit to the downtown community, such as a business-to-business trade exchange network, time baking network, and having market stalls at the Commons site. So we did get approval last night for our resolution with the City Council, and included in that is our market stands. That is actually all I have to say. I'm really just here to introduce myself and listen in on your meeting.
Very good. Thanks for joining us, Bonnie. Are there any other members of the public that would wish to speak? We have 4 slots right now. Well, 3 now. Okay, hearing none. Next up is reports from city boards and commissions. The Downtown Area Citizens Advisory Council met last night. I think I see Steve Kaplan here to provide the report.
Hi there. Can everyone hear me? Yes. So Isles, we did meet last night, and I would say that the large majority of our meeting time was devoted to discussion of the resolution that had been bandied about over the weekend regarding dissolution of the DDA and exploring the legal ramifications for it. From our perspective, we focused a lot on how miscommunication or just a lack of understanding of the DDA and its functions in town maybe served to have given any council person the idea that there was public support for that. You should see the letters that I wrote to council over the weekend, both the council and to the introductory members. So a lot of what I feel or said at the meeting last night, I won't repeat because you can just read it. But in general, we tried to then pivot from that to what we could do as a commission to help stave off just the sentiment that maybe led to this in the first place. And we thought about outreach and evangelizing and all this stuff. That conversation sort of led to explorations of where we draw our base from of membership and what the limitations are, and if there were possibilities of expanding an area of influence of the DDA so that there could be a broader net cast for membership to the CAC. I don't know that that's possible given what we looked at in statutes, but it is kind of where we were going to sort of see if can we get more people, and through getting more people kind of spread the word better. And outside of that, we also spoke about the Commons. We had Alan Haber as a guest at our meeting last night, as he is a guest in many of our meetings. And he had updated us on some of the recent developments with regard to the Commons, and there was sort of discussion there about where there might be a role for the DDA, or what the limitations of a participation of the DDA would be or should be. And then beyond that, we really just focused then on a brief update from Susan in our meeting, and then we closed.
Steve, thank you to you, the CAC, and members of the Old Fourth Ward for your words of support. I think Susan's going to touch on that a little bit in her executive director report, but I just wanted to say thank you for that.
It was my pleasure.
Okay, DDA board member communications.
We don't.
Liz, am I on?
We can hear you.
I can't see the resolution. How do I pull it up, Kelly?
Let me bring it up for you, Bob, just a moment.
And Kelly, if you can increase the resolution on the screen pretty high, that would be helpful.
All right, well, it's giving me a little trouble here, but just give me a moment here.
So I'll preface it while Kelly's pulling it up. Susan, we have a little surprise for you. So the state of Michigan has written a tribute in service in honor of your time with the DDA. Bob and I talked about it, and given that he's both the longest serving DDA board member and the person that has the longest working relationship with you, we felt like it would be most appropriate for him to be able to read this tribute. So Bob, let me know if this is legible for you.
Yeah.
You just simply don't. So where?
Yeah, first of all, let me say, Susan, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Are you
Yes.
somewhere in the vicinity? Well, great.
I am here.
I get this honor because we've worked together for 10 years on the DDA board, and he was executive director, but also I get it because we've worked together for longer than that in the community. And over my years, I've been around for a while in this
So this
county.
is
and,
from all of our state senators and representatives, Jeff Irwin, Rebecca Warren, Yusuf Rabi, and the Lieutenant Governor, Garland Gilchrist, and Big Gretch, the governor.
Okay.
And Kelly, is there a way to increase the resolution?
Jess? Yeah, can you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you, Bob.
We can hear you, Bob.
I think Jess might be frozen.
We can hear you. I think it's Jess.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Anyway, I don't know if you heard what I said, but Susan and I have worked together for 10 years at the DDA. I've been on the board, and I guess, as she said, the longest serving member right now. And so it's a real honor for me to present this special tribute to Susan, and one of my real colleagues and friends, and in many ways a role model for me when I was county administrator. And we worked together on so many projects. We're really going to miss you here. And I really can't believe there's an end date. So it's a special tribute, and it comes from, I deliver the communication from Lansing, and I'm really proud to do it. And Jess, I've had an eye problem. Are you able to read the tribute?
I am.
If you do that for me, Susan, I would ask that you accept that on my behalf.
Pretend I'm sock puppeting Bob. So from the state of Michigan, a special tribute to Susan Polley. Let it be known that in recognition of over 2 decades of service to the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority, it is our privilege to honor the work of Susan Polley. Ms. Polley first took over the Downtown Development Authority as its executive director in 1996. At that time, downtown Ann Arbor had struggled for years, buffeted by the twin forces of suburban growth and widespread disinvestment from the state and federal government. Once she became the director, she rapidly set out to fix these issues and create a vibrant and walkable urban landscape for all people in Washtenaw County. Her work at the DDA has continued over the next 2 decades, and the results of her tireless efforts will be felt for generations to come. Susan's dedication to the city of Ann Arbor reflect her strong commitment to the city's goals. She has been a champion of downtown revitalization and has been instrumental in creating Ann Arbor that we know and enjoy today. Over the course of her tenure, she led the fight to make streetscape improvements, construct new parking decks, create the city's first protected bicycle lanes and downtown bike houses, secure new investments in affordable housing and public transit, and implement the rollout of electrical vehicle charging stations and downtown's first solar carport. In special tribute, therefore, this document is dedicated to recognize the work of Susan Polley as Executive Director of the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority. We applaud Susan for her contributions to the city of Ann Arbor and Washtenaw County, and thank her for her dedication to improving the quality of the city for all residents.
Thank you all. Yeah, boy, this thing came to me as a surprise. And as you might guess, one doesn't get these things all the time. So I'm just so grateful to have the recognition. And as you notice, they're actually recognizing the DDA. They're recognizing all of you. They're recognizing all the previous boards. We all of us did this together, and it's great at a state level to be on their radar. So it's wonderful. So that's a great surprise. I'm delighted.
Excellent. All right. So are there any other DDA board member communications? Okay, seeing none. I'd now like to turn it back over to Susan for her Executive Director report.
Thank you. So my report is fairly brief. I want to begin with a heartfelt, I'll put the video on so you can see my face, a heartfelt thank you to all of the board members who took time to help the DDA when we first heard of these resolutions to dissolve the DDA. Many of you made the time to speak with council either by phone or in person or through email or just through getting the word out. And I really want to thank you as board members. I lean on you for a lot, and certainly this weekend I leaned on you very heavy, and many of you really came through, so thank you. I'd also like to give a heartfelt thank you to Grace Singleton from the Carytown District Association and Sandra Andrade from the Main Street Area Association. Those two districts, the Carytown District Association and Main Street Area Association, really got the word out. They did unbelievable work to let people know about it and reached out to the broad constituency of downtown stakeholders. And in particular, Grace and Sandra just made the time to get the word out and to have people express their thoughts about DDA. And I also want to thank all the businesses and all the community members and all the social service agency representatives and everybody else who reached out to our electeds this weekend to express their concerns. I think that your words had impact, and certainly the meeting began with the removal of the more odious of the two resolutions, and it was clear from your feedback to the council that they were not going to move that forward. And at that point then, it was just a question of figuring out their way back out of the hole that they had created. So I want to just communicate my great thanks, our great thanks from the DDA to our community. We are humbled by the outpouring of support that we heard, and just so appreciate people making the time to help. It's really appreciated. And that said, we have our next opportunity to meet with our council a week from yesterday. So Tuesday night, we'll be on a Zoom meeting. It's our annual work session with City Council and DDA. It's a work session that's required under our parking agreement to share information about the parking system. So we'll do that certainly at the beginning of the meeting. But it's also an opportunity for us to have a shared dialogue about affordable housing. That is a project that we are all focused on. And so Jennifer Hall will also be in attendance. She'll bring with her Smith Group and all the consultants. We'll have staff from the city. And it's an opportunity for the three entities, City Council, DDA Board, and Housing Commission, to talk about where we are in the progress of our work to develop affordable housing strategies for the downtown parking lots. And I hope all of you will join us there. The goal I have for that is to get to the place where a year from now, when we have our next annual meeting, we'll have had enormous progress in that we'll actually have approvals to move forward on projects on these lots. So again, that's the work session next Tuesday night at 7. Thanks all of you for making time.
And Susan, if I could reference the document that I think it was you that sent out last night. If anybody's ever feeling in the doldrums about your DDA service, please read those letters of support. It is a solid 61 pages of cheerleading from folks all over the community about what the DDA means to them. So it's really lovely to hear from people of all walks of life and how they relate to us as an organization and a department. Okay, thanks, Susan. For clarification, can you let me know, I understand that there's some flux about in-person and virtual meetings. Can you let me know when in-person starts again?
Kelly, I think you're following this most closely. I think we were given a 21-day period within which we're still doing virtual. Have you heard more than that, Kelly, in the last few days?
I have not. I know that a bill has been put forward to make virtual meetings allowed on a regular basis under certain circumstances. One, of course, would be any future state of emergencies. The governor would not have to issue executive orders for that. And also for individuals who are in the military and for those who have medical conditions, they're allowing you to do a hybrid of allowing them to participate in the meetings and also vote virtually. So other than that, I have not heard more. I know the governor's still working on that, trying to see what's going to happen, because I know there's still so many organizations that are not comfortable meeting in person yet. So at this point, it's still sort of, like you say, in flux, and I'm trying to keep in touch with people on that.
And Madam Chairwoman, for the moment, we as staff are working with an idea that the committee meetings ahead of us this month will still be virtual, but of course we'll let everybody know.
And the work session as well is really what I'm
session as well. That's
okay,
right.
we're planning on that being virtual. Okay, thank you for the clarification. I know that things are still up in the air, so thanks for continuing to communicate on that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'd now like to ask for a motion and a second to approve the September minutes.
So moved. This is Micah.
Second, Marie.
Second.
Sorry.
Thanks, you guys. All right, any corrections, any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Okay, hearing none, the September minutes are approved. Next on the agenda are the DDA subcommittee reports, beginning with the Operations Committee. I will turn it over to Darren McKinnon and Phil Weiss, custodial chairs.
All righty. Phil, would you like me to do this?
Given my non-attendance the last couple of months, I think you probably should do it. I would be having to fly off the cuff, and nobody wants
that. Okay, so first item on our agenda today is a resolution to increase the number of monthly off-permit passes to be provided to Vic Village South. I will move that resolution now and ask for a second.
Second it. It's Tyler.
Okay. So the DDA approved a resolution back in October of 19 to provide 40 night and weekend passes to Vic Village South so that they could achieve the requirement for site plan approval, and based on the design of the project at the time. As they proceeded through the engineering approval process with the city of Ann Arbor, certain changes had to be made to the physical structure such that they need at least 2 more parking spaces, but there's a possibility that as this process continues to proceed, they will need additional spaces beyond those 2. So what we had a discussion, there was really not much controversy on this. The suggestion was to have a resolution that approved up to 5 additional, so maximum of 45. They definitely are going to want 42. They're not going to want to take any more than they need to because they have to pay for them, and they don't feel they need them other than to achieve site plan requirements. So what the resolution we're putting forward today is up to 45, with the understanding that that should be more than enough to satisfy any potential unforeseen issues that come up as they finalize their building design and go through the city process.
So I think what we need is a motion and a second for the resolution.
Yep, we have that.
Oh, thank you. Okay, see, working on keeping track. Any questions or comments? Thanks for the recap, Darren. Okay, so hearing no additional comments, all those in favor of this resolution, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay. Okay, there's no disagreement. So the resolution to approve the resolution to increase the number of permits under a parking contract with the 1116 South University Development, Vic Village South, is approved. Okay, updates on other operations committee business?
Thank you. The next item is parking system financials. We reviewed the fiscal year 20 year end, which, to remind you, ended June 30th of this year. And we also reviewed the first 2 months which we had of fiscal year 21, which is July and August. And we also went through our projections for July 21, which of course are based on extremely limited information. We had a pretty decent discussion about that. bottom line for the board is that the current projections have a revenues of 13 million with expenses of 19 million. So we are projected to lose about $6 million from operations. The good news, I suppose, is that we do have a significant reserve of funds, which we had stockpiled cash for the Ann Ashley garage, which, as you remember, was not ultimately approved. So the way the budget would work for this year is that we would simply spend down those reserves. There was some discussion about doing the best we could to try to limit any unnecessary expenses, to try to live, so to speak, within our means or within the revenue generated for this year. It was unclear whether or not we would be able to pare that expense line down to not 13 million or within our revenues, but staff and Republic understand that that's kind of our goal. Now, part of the $19 million in expenses that we're incurring this year includes, I think it's $1.3 million roughly, to upgrade all the existing Mono McGann equipment in the garages to what's called a TIBA system. And the TIBA system is, first of all, the Mono McGann stuff is antiquated and we needed to be replaced just because of its age and condition. But the TIBA equipment will allow for a more efficient operation of the garages and the surface lots from a manpower standpoint going forward. So that should help us. It's an investment in a time when we don't necessarily want to be making it, but it should pay dividends going forward. Any other questions on parking system finances? Okay, I'll move into electric vehicle stations. We had a discussion about the concept that in our CIP, you might remember that we said we wanted to try to expand our network of plug-in vehicle charging stations in the garages. We have a few that are there now, especially with net zero plan and wanting to increase our ability to have carbon neutral garages, if you will. So we had Simi Barr from the Office of Sustainability join us, and we talked about the kind of the plan in abstract to deploy this larger network. There are opportunities out there to partner with third-party companies that would either install and own or install and manage the charging station network. And there was also a discussion about revenue collections. Currently, the existing charging stations in the garages are free for anyone that has paid to get into the garage. You don't pay anything additional to use the electricity. That's something we talked about exploring in the future and something we probably need to move towards. Generally speaking, though, because of the aforementioned $6 million shortfall we're expecting, we are not anticipating anything in this fiscal year in terms of physical infrastructure going into place. We did encourage Jada, though, to continue to explore what the best options would be so that when we get to a point where we have those resources, that we would we'd be in a good position to do it and do it with a partner, hopefully, that would not add additional burden to DDA staff or Republic staff. Any other questions or comments on electrical vehicle stations, charging stations? Okay, and then the last item on our agenda was the parking and transportation report. The report is included in your packet if you'd like to read it. And there is some restoration work going on in a few of the garages, which we had talked about previously, that we were deemed essential. And even though we have a budget shortfall, there was some work that we could not safely delay any longer. So that's part of the $19 million expenses this year as well. And that's all I have, unless Phil wants to add anything, or anybody else that was part of that meeting. And our next meeting is Wednesday, October 28th at 11 a.m. Which I don't know if it'll be virtual or in person, or that's right at the 21-day kind of window. Well, I guess stay tuned for that information.
As the DDA turns. Great, Darren. Thanks for all that. And that was a really productive committee meeting. Next up is the Capital Improvements Committee report. I will turn it over to co-chairs Alex Steep and Molly McFarland.
Thank you, Jess. Alex, is it okay if I take the first half and then I'll hand it over to you? I'll take that as a maybe.
That is okay. I have my 3 screens, so I'm trying to get my cursor on the right
No
screen.
problem. Okay. All right, so the CIC did not meet in September, so we just have a few project updates for everyone. So I'll start with the project updates, and then Liz can answer any questions that people may have. So for First and Ashley, phase 1, which is Huron to Williams, the concrete, brick pavers, electrical conduits are underway. Phase 1 landscaping and furniture installation is expected to be completed into October. Work in the Huron intersection will last through the end of October and will include the final water main connection, conduit installation, repair of a sanitary sewer for the city, and road replacement. Work between Huron and Miller will continue with storm sewer, conduit, light pole, and concrete curb installation. And by the beginning of November, we expect to complete the paving between Huron and William and place the first asphalt layers between Huron and Miller. For William, this month, the contractor will do the asphalt patch repair near Division and install the hard center lines at the intersections of Division and Thompson. For Huron, monthly landscaping maintenance has been ongoing. Dead trees will be replaced in October. And then finally, for project updates, 5th and Detroit, monthly landscaping maintenance has been ongoing. So like I said, any questions about the projects before we move on to pandemic response? Okay, with that, I'll hand it over to you, Alex.
Sure. And as Molly said, a lot of this, it's just a recap and summary, and you've heard this before. But in terms of pandemic response, Council extended the DDA funded street closures until November 1. These street closures have been well received by the community and have been a lifeline for the local businesses. As part of that, we have 150 plus curbside carryout spots that have remained in place as capacity limits are still in effect for restaurants and shops, maybe, at least locally. And then programs to repurpose parking spaces remain in effect until the end of the month. Approximately 30 businesses have taken advantage of this program. The DDA and the city pilot projects to create social distancing for pedestrians and cyclists were installed. DDA staff are monitoring and making adjustments as needed and collecting data. Right now, approximately 500 people have participated in the online survey regarding those programs. The pilot communications include social media, print, educational signage, along with corridor signs, yard signs, city and DDA newsletters, Nextdoor, the app, and direct communication with stakeholders. And then we have temporary art that has been installed in 2 locations, State Street at North U and Detroit at Catherine under the Revive All Zones project. And just as a reminder, the DDA funded this project. The Arts Alliance managed the program details and commissioned the artist.
And I think there's just one more. Oh, sorry. I think there's just one more bullet that came through to Alex from Maura, that on Monday night, October 5th, City Council voted to remove several of the city coordinated pilots outside of downtown no later than October 5th. So that's one quick update. Oh, October 15th, sorry, October 15th. Any other questions then? Maura and Liz are available to answer. Darren, looks like Darren has a question.
Yeah, I wasn't, thank you for that about the outside of downtown things. I know that I've gotten a lot of feedback on stuff, and I spoke with Susan, and I don't think a lot of people realized in the general public that there was this delineation between DDA pilot project and what Susan referred to as city pilot projects, because they were coordinated on sometimes many of the same streets. So I think it's important that we all know that. I didn't know that until recently. Maybe you guys did, but it sounds like those are going to be going away anyway, so it's a moot point. But I guess I just wanted to take a moment to talk about, we didn't have the September meeting for the capital improvements committee where these came out of. There was a lot of, I was getting a lot of feedback, and others I've talked to have gotten feedback, some positive, but a lot negative. Maybe a good time in the October meeting or thereafter to digest some of that as we go forward in terms of, are we going to look at making some of these permanent? I know that's what People Friendly Streets version 2.0 is all about, but we should really make sure we're understanding some of the concerns that were raised either through the survey or otherwise.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then also, I didn't know if it was appropriate earlier, but Molly, when you were given the discussion about project updates, there wasn't really a talk about it, but the current plan for the First and Ashley two-way conversion is that next year we would be airing into Ashley Street. And another conversation I had with Susan, and I wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit here, but really it deserves a much more robust conversation in committee, hopefully in October, is do we want to consider, in light of the pandemic and the impact it's had on local businesses and the impact that it's had on our finances, perhaps delaying the start of the Ashley Street construction to the 2022 construction season, really primarily just to give the businesses downtown a breather, because they're, as we all know, suffering due to lost revenue. But I realize it's a bonded project, and we have to kind of have a discussion about what that means to delay a bonded project. But those, I think it's a worthy of a discussion. I wanted to throw it out there for people to think about and hopefully talk about more at committee.
Darren, I will second your comments, and I am fully on board with what you just said. And I had an email conversation with Susan just this morning about the exact same thing. So I will give your comments a hearty second.
This is Tom. I'll just throw out there for perspective. Don't forget there are other roads that need work in the DDA. I believe the CIP has State Street and Main Street in the pipeline as well. So if you try to push one thing back, it pushes others. That gets to be more complex when you look at the underground utility work that has to be done with those. So it is challenging from a system to be tactical. Just be aware of some of those other projects coming.
So I would say, I mean, the next meeting is on Wednesday, October 21st. I think everything that was brought up by Phil and Darren and then Tom, we should sort of talk through it big picture. Like one, the feedback that we're getting right now, staff has been doing a really good job sort of collecting that data, and we can start sorting through it to make decisions that way, or sort of informed decisions, as well as understanding the broader context of how all these puzzle pieces fit together. But I think everybody, I mean, all the comments are right. I think all of those should be discussed, and we'll do that in the next committee meeting. And that's, unless Alex, Maura, or Liz have anything else there, I think that's our part.
This is Susan. I just have one other. We had a late addition also that if we could bring to committee a review and possibly reapproval of the DDA's Vault grant program. It's a program where the DDA puts some dollars in a pot, and if we could encourage property owners to fill in their vault, we would contribute some funds to that purpose. It allows much better use of the sidewalk when there's not a hollowing underneath. It has benefits for the community in the long run too, because many of these sidewalks with vaults have become trip hazards. So I'll bring that request to committee as well, and we'll check with Sarah to see what we might have in the pot just for consideration. But just given our earlier comment about watching our expenses, I did want to let people know in a heads up way that we'll bring that question to committee.
Okay, so that sounds like everything for capital improvements, both recapping the past month and kind of laying the groundwork for a committee meeting this month. Next up is thank you, Molly and Alex, much appreciated. Next up is the Affordable Housing and Economic Development Committee report. I'll turn it over to co-chairs Micah Bartlemy and Tyler Kinley.
Hey everyone, this is Micah. So the October meeting was a partner meeting. We provided our updates. From AATA, Matt Carpenter spoke with us and let us know AAATA service has been restored to approximately 60% of normal capacity, which is up from 20% in March. And the current stats show an 80% ridership loss, including 90% of previous ridership. City Council, Ali joined us, and we've already heard of this, but Council did extend the downtown street closures until November 1st. From the Planning Commission, we had Shannon Gibb Randall. The floodplain overlay district map, based on new FEMA maps, were submitted for Council review. Those will impose new restrictions on homeowners and property owners in these areas. And there's also a revised lighting and sign ordinance that are near completion. From the DDA, Susan reported on the DDA unanimously approving a $1 million grant to support the purchase of Lurie Terrace. Purchase may be complete in December, depending on due diligence. Ali Ramlawi and Jennifer Hall expressed their thanks to the DDA for its support of Lurie Terrace. From the Housing Commission, Jennifer Hall has joined the committee as a regular attendee and partner. She gave a continuing update on the initiatives that the Housing Commission has been working on with the city and DDA. Ann Arbor Housing Commission residents have benefited from state and federal pandemic funding. An update was given on the progress towards planning affordable housing on the 12 city properties that we've discussed here several times before. Council authorized creating a pre-entitlement plan for 350 South 5th Avenue site and the 415 West Washington. Currently, there is not funding to pursue 415 Washington. Smith Group is scheduling public meetings in October, November, and December on 353 South Main, which is the Palio lot, Ashley and William, the Klein lot, along with First and William, 4th and Catherine, and 721 North Main. So a lot of opportunity for public input in the next 3 months on all of these projects. Are there any questions about any of those updates from our partners? Hearing none, the next Affordable Housing Economic Development Committee meeting will be Wednesday, October 14th at 9 a.m. That is a DDA only and will be the morning following our work session with City Council. Thank you, Jess.
Thanks, Micah. All right, next up is the Finance Committee report. I'll turn it over to co-chairs Bob Gunzel and Marie Clough.
Marie, go for it.
All right, you got it. So at the Finance Committee, we had an investment report from the Bank of Ann Arbor. They gave us a status report on the DDA's investment portfolio. We reviewed the fiscal year 20 financials and the parking system reports. Sarah did a great job of putting things together, and I appreciate Darren's comments that we all know that, you know, managing our spending is going to be really important through the balance of this year. And so we talked about that. And then we reviewed the monthly registers. But if anybody has any questions for Sarah, she did a really great job of projecting the fund balances now and for the next few years. And so it was very helpful and gave a lot of perspective when we looked at that. So if anybody has any questions for Sarah, I encourage you to ask her.
Marie, this is Sarah. If I could just make a quick comment. Something to keep in mind when you look at these slides, the parking related slides will be included in the presentation at the annual work session next week. So if everybody would please review those, and any questions that you have, staff is available at any time to answer those.
Do you want to keep just scrolling down? I thought it was, at least go back up, Kelly, go back up. I thought it was really interesting. When you look at how we ended the year, the fund balances seem very high. And then if you look at the projections, nope, Kelly, you were in the right spot.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at the projections going forward, given where we're at, they will drop significantly in the next 3 years. So it's a good thing they are where they are so that we can make it through the next few years, given all the things that have happened economically. So I thought that was very helpful. And Sarah, thanks so much for putting all of that together for us.
Very welcome.
And if there are no other questions or comments, then the next Finance Committee meeting will be Thursday, October 29th at 9 a.m.
Let me get back up to the agenda. Can everybody see that okay? Is that big enough? All right, let me put this back up here. Okay. All right, let me get down to where we are here. Is that large enough for everyone? Can you see that? Okay, thank you. All right, we lost Jess for just a minute. I know she said she's reconnecting, so it'll be just a second.
I'm back.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Thank you very much. All right, so thank you, Marie. And the next thing that I'd like to touch on is executive committee work, starting with the executive director search work that we've been doing. We had a special committee meeting held on September 15th, in which we covered, you can see the notes on page 18 of your packet. But what we really wanted to do was start to get a sense of what the early part of this process is going to look like. We were joined by our of counsel, I guess is how you say it, Jerry Lax, and his colleague, Jeremy Kennedy. And what we talked about was how do we manage a public and transparent process while also managing the privacy and HR kind of legal requirements of what needs to stay private for applicant protections. So they did a really lovely job of answering all of our many, many questions. We talked about what our most urgent steps are, and we did talk a little bit about setting overall goals and a timeline for the process, but really what we know is everything that we don't know. So the first and most urgent step is going to be to recruit, identify, and hire a recruiting firm that will help us run this process. So that was kind of where we got to at the special committee meeting. We are lucky that we're partnering really productively with the city. They've conducted executive level searches, including the police chief, of course, the local city administrator search. What's up? They're in the process of doing an HR director search. And so they've got a lot of like really decent, really recent both data and processes that we're able to draw from and kind of inform our own process without starting from scratch. So this morning, we asked John Fournier to join us so that we could ask him a number of questions about what the city processes have been like. He was incredibly forthcoming, had a lot of really thoughtful input on what a productive search looks like, both for the search firm as well as for the candidates themselves. And I think the city is going to continue to be a productive and very helpful partner in helping us conduct a thorough and thoughtful search that will land us hopefully a finalist panel of really great candidates. One of the questions that we considered at the special meeting in mid-September was whether the search would be local, regional, or national, and I think that we're leaning towards a national search. So again, that brings us into today's conversation, which was mostly us asking a lot of questions of John. After that, we segued into previewing today's board meeting agenda and preparing for the work for today. Any questions about the work that we've done or what might be coming up next? Okay. The next executive committee meeting is Is it November 4th? I'm sorry, I don't have it right in front of me.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. November 4th at 11 a.m. We did talk this morning at our executive committee meeting about scheduling another special meeting in the middle of this month, but that has yet to be scheduled. So you'll receive more information about that soon. Okay, so moving on, is there any new DDA business to discuss? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the public comment portion of the meeting. Kelly, if you can help me identify whether there are any members of the public who might wish to address the DDA board. If you're attending via the Zoom app, please use the raise your hand function, and Kelly or I will call on you. If you're on your phone, please unmute your microphone and state your first and last name.
I don't see any hands raised or anything in chat at the moment.
Okay, great. Okay, hearing none, I will ask for a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting.
This is Micah, so moved.
Tom, second.
Okay, any discussion? No? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? No? All right, I don't have a rubber mallet, but I do have a homemade sword, and the sword says we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, everybody.